The jacket fruit is a strange devil fruit. So what would happen if Luffy got it at the beginning of the story? You won't believe how well this devil fruit fits Luffy, his character and the story of One Piece. But what can the jacket fruit actually do? The effect of the fruit is quite simple. The user of the fruit transforms into a jacket and then other characters can wear the user in their jacket form. If they wear the user, then the user of the fruit apparently gains control over the body of the person who wears the jacket. More or less, the effect of the fruit works like kind of a fusion, only with the difference that one person retains consciousness. This devil fruit was randomly used in the 𝚗𝚙𝚑𝚝 for a relatively unimportant character. But if the right person with the appropriate crew ate this fruit, then the jacket fruit would become one of the most powerful devil fruits in the story. But the fruit has one weakness. The user cannot force anyone to wear the jacket. That means the fusions work on a certain voluntary basis. You need friends to fully utilize the power of the fruit. So the jacket fruit is actually the nakama fruit. The more strong friends you have who trust you, the stronger you are in handling this fruit. So how would the story of One Piece have gone if Luffy had eaten the jacket fruit? The story begins as usual. Shanks brings another devil fruit to Fuchsia village, a young Luffy eats the fruit and transforms into a jacket for the first time. The Red Hair Pirates of course burst out laughing at this sight. In the next 10 years Luffy trains with his brothers to start his pirate adventure. Sabo and Ace are also the first characters to wear Luffy as a jacket to test his fruit. Luffy realized that this devil fruit is perfect for him. With this devil fruit he can fight together with his friends and make his friends stronger through his own abilities. Unfortunately, Luffy does not have a large friend circle at this time. At the age of 17, Luffy begins his journey to change that. The first enemies in the East Blue have no chance against Luffy. The first fight is against Alvida. Luffy could easily win the fight with Kobe's help, but Jacket Luffy decides to help Kobe build his self-confidence. He asks Kobe to wear him so that he can defeat Alvida together. Jacket Kobe defeats Alvida and Kobe gains the courage to pursue his dream. The two of them then travel to Shell's Town. There Luffy wants to recruit Zoro into his crew and Kobe wants to join the Marines. Through Zoro, Luffy could finally know what it's like to be a swordsman. The plot develops in a similar way, but Luffy has to hurry in the search for the swords. In the original timeline, Luffy saved Kobe and Zoro from the bullets of the Marines. If Luffy arrives here a little earlier, he can also free them with his jacket fruit. Zoro is freed and has his swords back. Luffy transforms then back into a jacket so that Zoro can wear him. Reluctantly, Zoro agrees. Luro is then born. He then faces Morgan, Kobe faces 𝚘𝚘𝚝. In this timeline, Kobe has much more courage due to his supposed victory against Alvida. Morgan and 𝚘𝚘𝚝 are defeated and Kobe joins the Marines. Luffy and Zoro then travel to Orange Town. Luffy wants to meet more friends to experience even more transformations. In Orange Town, Luffy meets Nami. A jacket transformation with Zoro doesn't make sense in the fight against Buggy. Therefore, Luffy asks Nami for help. She doesn't want to help Luffy at first, but after seeing Luffy help Shu and defeat Moji and Richie, she agrees to help him against Buggy. But only if she gets Buggy's treasures. Lumi is then born to face Buggy. This fight runs quite similar to the original timeline, only that Luffy is a bit more sneaky through Nami's attributes. Buggy is defeated and the adventure of the Straw Hat Pirates continues. In Syrup Village, our heroes meet Usopp and fight off against Captain Kuro. As in the original timeline, Luffy befriends Usopp and offers his help in the fight against Kuro. Usopp then confronts Kuro, and as in the original timeline, Kuro is defeated with a powerful headbutt. Usopp joins the crew and our heroes head towards the Baratie. There our heroes meet Sanji. Luffy and Sanji fuse to Lungi. Through Luffy, Sanji learns to believe in his dreams and process his skills towards Jeff. The fight against Don Krieg ends by breaking his armor. Next they head to Along Park to bring Nami back into the crew. Here a second jacket fusion with Nami occurs. Luffy wants to help Nami defeat Arlong, but he lets her choose. After her help me moment, Luffy asks if she wants to fight against Arlong and she agrees. She wants to finally confront her fears and trauma. Luffy and Nami team up to fight against Arlong and free Kokoyazi village from the tyranny of the Arlong pirates. As in the original timeline, Luffy destroys Nami's former workplace and sends Arlong flying through several floors of Arlong Park. It's important to note that Luffy retains his physical strength in this run because he has trained with Ace for over 10 years. In Loguetown, Jacket Luffy faces off against Smoker. He has no chance against the Logia user. As in the original timeline, Dragon comes to Luffy's aid so that he can escape. In this timeline, Luffy has no problem with the antagonists in the East Blue. However, he fights alongside each of his nakama in this run. This strengthens the bond of the crew and gives each member a special role in the story fights. On the Grand Line, things will be a little different. Luffy will be even more reliant on the help of his nakama. Powerful opponents with incredibly strong devil fruits await Luffy on the Grand Line. On Whiskey Peak, some Baroque agents are defeated, Vivi is rescued and is to be taken to Alabasta. On Little Garden, the fight against 𝙬𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚝 takes place. Most of Luffy's friends are captured in a wax figure cabinet. The first idea in this fight would be that Luffy wears the giants, but that doesn't work because Brogy is knocked out by the exploding alcohol and Brogy is trapped in the wax. So only 2 members of the Straw Hat crew are left, Usopp and Sanji. Since Sanji is out hunting somewhere in the jungle, Usopp is the only option. Usopp has the strength of Luffy and the sharpshooting abilities of Usopp. 𝚬𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚘𝚝's wax is burned and with a few punches the Waxman is knocked out. On Drum Island, our heroes meet 𝚑𝚘𝚗 and fight him. Luffy wants the reindeer with a blue nose in his crew. Here we need to talk about this very specific question. Can someone wear the jacket fruit user if the person already has a devil fruit? Is that then considered eating 2 devil fruits? This is currently unclear. However, I do not believe that this is the case. The jacket only temporarily borrows and amplifies the abilities of another user. No one permanently gains those abilities. Therefore, I believe that someone with a devil fruit can wear the jacket fruit user. If that is true, it makes the fruit even more dangerous. This is where Choffy is born. 𝚑𝚘𝚗 is not necessarily the best physical fighter. If 𝚑𝚘𝚗 has no chance against Luffy, he certainly has no chance against the fusion of Luffy and Chopper. With the newest crew member, they head to Alabasta. Here they face off against Sir Crocodile. Luffy has the physical capacity to defeat Crocodile. However, he lacks the physical resilience of the Gum Gum fruit as well as the moveset. I could imagine Luffy fighting Crocodile alone in the first battle. In the second battle, he fights alongside Vivi, and in the third battle he fights with Nico Robin. This way, Luffy has different fighting styles in the 3 different battles. In the first defeat, Luffy learns that Crocodile's weakness is water. In the second battle, he fights alongside Vivi to attack Crocodile with close range and long range attacks. In the third battle, Robin comes to Luffy's aid and the two could copy a Gum Gum attack with Robin's devil fruit abilities. Lubin could produce countless hands that are then wrapped in water to catapult Crocodile out of the Tomb of the Kings, similar to the original timeline. This battle will be difficult for Luffy, just like in the original timeline. Robin joins the Straw Hat crew after the adventure in Alabasta, and Vivi stays in Alabasta to protect her kingdom. On Jaya, there's a brawl with Bellamy. Without using his devil fruit, Luffy defeats Bellamy here with just 1 attack. The Straw Hat crew then heads to 𝚬𝚙𝚒𝚗𝚝. With a knock upstream, they arrive in the White Sea. There they face off against the self-proclaimed god Eneru. To be honest, this battle against Eneru could be the end of the Straw Hat crew. Luffy has no way to counter him in this fight. There are some approaches that can be used to defeat Eneru, but none of these approaches are guaranteed like in the other runs. At this point in time, Luffy does not yet know Haki. Without rubber, he's unable to grab Eneru and resist his attacks. Only 1 character on 𝚬𝚙𝚗𝚝 possesses 𝚬𝚘𝚙𝚗𝚝. Viper has 𝚬𝚘𝚗𝚝 mounted on his shooters. That means there is a way to disable Eneru's Logia abilities. However, our heroes must make friends with Viper and the Shandian to get this chance. This is not easy since the Shandians are not necessarily friends of our heroes. However, in the original timeline, an alliance was formed between our heroes and Viper during the 𝚬𝚙𝚗𝚝 arc. The enemy of my enemy is actually my friend. Part of the 𝚬𝚙𝚗𝚝 arc is a battle royale. In the end, everyone fights against Eneru. 1 character was even able to kill Eneru. That character was Viper. Eneru was killed by a react. However, Eneru was then able to reanimate himself, but what would happen if Eneru received 2 or 3 hits from this dial? Could we possibly defeat him then? For this to happen, Viper would have to wear Luffy's jacket. This way, the two would have increased resilience. They could certainly withstand 1 or 2 attacks from Eneru. Viper was already able to use the reject dial 3 times without Luffy. In combination with Luffy, there should be even more potential. This battle is unfortunately really a wild card. The Straw Hat crew should actually lose here. There is a method to win, but it requires a lot of luck. However, since Luffy has plot armor, he will somehow win against Eneru together with Viper and his crew. Back on the Blue Sea, our heroes are faced with another defeat. Luffy has no chance against Kuzan in this timeline. 1 attack is enough to freeze Luffy. Then they go to Water 7, where Robin and Usopp leave the crew and our heroes are involved in a plot by the world government. In Water 7, Luffy faces Rob Lucci for the first time and he loses. He just manages to dodge Lucci's finger pistol on his neck. He's only hit on the arm. At Enies Lobby, the rematch between the two takes place. Luffy Luffy has come up with a strategy to defeat Lucci. In this timeline, Luffy does not have Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd. Thus, it should be impossible for Luffy to keep up with Lucci. However, Luffy finds another solution. The body of a certain cyborg can give Luffy the necessary resilience in the fight with Lucci. Luffy asks his future crewmate Franky for help. Lunky is then born and fights against Rob Lucci. All of Franky's techniques are amplified by Luffy's strength. The strong hammer is just as strong as Luffy's Gear 3rd fist. Although Lucci is slightly faster, Franky's body provides the necessary protection. Lucci will try to hit Lunky in the back, he succeeds once and Lunky is almost knocked out. But then comes the motivational speech from Usopp and Lunky can muster the strength for final attack and defeat Lucci. In this timeline, someone other than Franky has to unlock Robin's handcuffs and protect her from the Marines. After Ines Lobby, Franky joins the Straw Hat Pirates and they head to Thriller Bark. The fight against Gekko Moria and Oz goes pretty much the same as in the original timeline. The only difference is that Oz can turn into rubber, but instead he thinks he's a jacket the whole time. Jacket Luffy lets Brook wear him on Thriller Bark to help his new friend, and they both get the 100 shadows that Nightmare Luffy has in the original timeline. This should make the fight against Moria and Oz very easy. Brook then joins the Straw Hat Pirates and the crew finally has their musician. The next fight is against Magellan. Before that, the crew is separated and Boa Hancock has to fall in love with Luffy. She takes Luffy to the underwater prison and in Impel Down, Luffy has to face the Poison Man twice. In the first fight, Luffy naturally loses against Magellan. He has no way to protect himself from his poison. Ivankov then heals Luffy and they have a rematch during their escape. But this time Luffy has a former enemy who is now his ally and can wear his jacket. Luffy and Galdino become Luffino, and with Luffy's strength and Galdino's wax fruit, they could even defeat Magellan in this run. Galdino's wax seems to have a resistance to Magellan's poison. Theoretically, a victory is possible, but the goal, however, is to go to Marineford to save Ace. At Marineford, Luffy almost dies several times, similar to the original timeline. However, he is saved by his Nakama several times. Luffy then has to face Sengoku again on the scaffold. This time Galdino has to save the two brothers, first with a wax wall and then by opening Ace's handcuffs. Ace and Luffy then decide to fight together. Ace trusts his brother to save him. Ace wears Luffy as a jacket and then they become Lace. If Luffy now has control over Ace's body, maybe Ace will be saved in this run. Theoretically, this is possible. Luffy, for example, is not provoked by Akainu's words, therefore an escape is possible here. After all, Law is nearby with a polar tank. Law is actually a big supporter of the D-Carriers, therefore he should have no problem saving Luffy and Ace. If Ace is rescued from Marineford, the arc ends differently but almost identically. Whitebeard dies and Blackbeard gets his devil fruit. Whitebeard actually never intended to leave Marineford alive. If Ace survives, we must ask ourselves whether there will be a time skip. After all, Ace is not dead and Luffy did not experience such a traumatic event on Marineford as in the original timeline. However, I can imagine that Rayleigh still makes this suggestion to Luffy. After all, Luffy saw how weak he really is on Marineford. I could even imagine that Rayleigh suggests training Luffy and Ace together. After all, he knows since Marineford that Ace is the son of his former captain. He could have known that before already. Roger even told Rayleigh that his child would be the one to find the One Piece next. Now Rayleigh is in a bit of a bind. Who does he believe more, Shanks or Roger? Shanks said there was a boy in the East Blue who spoke the same words as Roger. Roger, on the other hand, said his child would find the One Piece next. Shanks bet on Luffy and Roger bet on his child who was not born yet at that time. I think Rayleigh will bet on both and prepare both of them for the new world. During the time skip, the two learn to handle Haki and use their abilities even more. In the original story, we only know that Ace has Conqueror's Haki. But in the episode of Ace also confirmed that Ace has Armament and Observation Haki. It would have surprised me if he wasn't capable of that. After all, he was a commander in a Yonko pirate crew. For Luffy, this time skip is a bit like his childhood, only this time Luffy tries to get closer and closer to Ace's power level. Along with Rayleigh, Luffy has another training partner in Ace. Luffy and Ace also try to train more with the devil fruits and get stronger with them. Because Ace is still alive, some plot points in the new world may unfold slightly differently than in the original timeline. The time skip ends after 2 years and our heroes meet again. Luffy says goodbye to Ace and gives him a part of his vivre card. card. They can meet again in the New World. The first adventures in the New World are quite similar to the original timeline. On Fishman Island, Jinbei wears Luffy as a jacket, and Rumbei is born, but he has no problem in fighting 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚎𝚛. The match against Caesar takes place on 𝚘𝚙𝚎𝚛. Luffy's haki will be enough to defeat Caesar. After all, Caesar is not the physically strongest character, his devil fruit is still dangerous and Luffy must be careful to not lose his consciousness. Caesar is then kidnapped and the SAD is destroyed on 𝚘𝚙𝚎𝚛. The next stop is Dressrosa. This arc will unfold differently than in the original timeline. Since Ace is still alive, the 𝚑𝚑𝚑𝚑 no Mi is not offered as a prize at the Corrida Colosseum. Therefore, Luffy will not participate in the Battle Royale in the Colosseum. It also raises the question of whether Sabo will travel to Dressrosa. In the original timeline, the revolutionaries had business on Dressrosa. However, Sabo traveled there because he wanted to win Ace's 𝚑𝚑𝚑 no Mi to inherit his brother's will. In this timeline, Sabo does not remember Ace and Luffy. His memories have not returned in this timeline because Ace did not die at Marineford. However, it's nice to know that in this timeline all three brothers are healthy and safe. However, there will not be a reunion with Sabo in this timeline, perhaps in the future when the revolutionaries take action and the three brothers can meet again. So if Luffy does not go to the Colosseum, he can help Law in his fight against Doflamingo. Law dresses up as Luffy, Law then wears Luffy as a jacket. Law's abilities combined with Luffy's strength and endurance should be enough to defeat Doflamingo. The fight could theoretically take place on Greenbit, where Law and Doflamingo's first match took place, but the fight can also be divided into two parts, one on Greenbit and the other on Dressrosa. After Doflamingo and his crew are defeated, the Alliance travels to Zou. In this timeline, the Straw Hat Grand Fleet is not founded because Luffy did not fight in the Corrida Colosseum. The 𝚑𝚑𝚑𝚑 no Mi was no prize there, so a lot of famous pirates did not even come to Dressrosa to participate in the Corrida Colosseum. On Whole Cake Island, Sanji has to be rescued again. Luffy must face the two sweet commanders Charlotte Cracker and Charlotte Katakuri on this island. The fight against Cracker should be quite similar to the original timeline, except that Luffy can really fight with Nami this time. Lumi could produce rain and make Cracker's cookies soft and weak. This way the cookies can be eaten and defeated with Lumi's haki. During the fight against Charlotte Katakuri, Luffy and Sanji reconcile. Similar to the Baratie arc, Luffy and Sanji fight together against the antagonist of the arc. Lanji is born again. Unfortunately, in this timeline, some of the symbolism of the fight is lost. There's no mirror match in the mirror world, because Luffy does not have similar abilities to Katakuri. The fight will unfold differently in this timeline than in the original timeline. Lanji will be able to produce fire with the Diable Gemble and melt Katakuri's Mochi. In this fight, Lanji will have to learn advanced observation haki. Without this skill, he will surely not be able to beat Katakuri. However, with Sanji's fire abilities and Luffy's genius in battle, it should be possible to defeat Katakuri. In this timeline, Pudding will have to bake the new wedding cake for Big Mom almost alone, since Sanji is busy fighting. Then our heroes head to Wano Kuni. The fight against Kaido will be extremely exciting in this timeline. Ace survived Marineford, and together with Marco and Izo, he travels to Wano to help his brother and Yamato. This means that in the rooftop piece, not only the supernovas of this generation, but also a supernova of the previous generation will be present. The first fights against Kaido will go similarly. The fight will be pretty intense. Luffy will fuse once with Zoro, once with the Law, and once with Ace to deal some serious damage to Kaido. Luffy and Ace will learn their advanced Conqueror's haki in this fight, which allows them to damage Kaido. Kid will act a little like Vegeta in Dragon Ball. Just imagine the moment with the Potara earrings. Instead of earrings, Kid just doesn't want to wear Luffy's jacket. Sorry guys, but we won't see this transformation in this run. As in the original timeline, there will be a one-on-one fight between Luffy and Kaido, but spoilers, Luffy loses this fight and flies off Onigashima again, needing to be rescued by the hard pirates. The adult Momo and Luffy then set off again to defeat Kaido once and for all. In the meantime, Yamato and Ace continue their fight against Kaido together. Once they reach the top, Luffy, Yamato and Ace give Kaido their signature attacks. Then Luffy wants Momo to wear him like a jacket so that he can experience what it's like to have Kaido's devil fruit powers. This leads to a match between Luffy Nozuke and Kaido. They are actually evenly matched. This is the mirror match from the original timeline where Luffy and Katakuri have similar abilities. This time it's actually a mirror match between two dragons. However, this form cannot last long because Momo's task is to save Onigashima from falling on the capital. In this final scenery, Luffy will not necessarily fight Kaido alone, but with the help of Ace. The two brothers will face the world's strongest creature together. With their jacket fusion, the two brothers are able to do well against the weakened Kaido. Now we have to ask ourselves a crucial question. Will Luffy trigger the awakening of the jacket fruit? And what could the awakening of this fruit be? The awakening of paramecia fruits allows the user to transform living beings as well as inanimate objects into the respective elements or substance. Could Luffy use the awakening to transform other characters into jackets and then wear them? Could these characters then control Luffy's body? Does the awakening of this fruit allow a kind of reverse effect? That would certainly be very exciting. Unfortunately, this is quite useless in this fight against Kaido, so I don't believe Luffy necessarily needs to trigger his awakening in this fight. Ace, on the other hand, could trigger his awakening in this fight, which would give their fusion Lace awaken fire abilities. I believe an all-out fight between Lace and Kaido with the awakening of the Mera Mera no Mi is enough to win the fight against the world's strongest creature. Meanwhile, Momonosuke created flame clouds to prevent Onigashima from falling on the capital, and everything is safe. The jacket fruit is actually a fairly weak devil fruit in One Piece. It can't do anything on its own, you need the help of others to fully utilize the potential of this devil fruit. For Luffy and his nakama, it's actually the perfect devil fruit. The good thing about this storyline is that Ace could still be alive and together with Luffy defeat a Yonko. This would somehow fulfill Luffy's and Ace's promise to meet again at the Pirate Summit. This metaphorical summit would then be reached through their victory against Kaido. I ranked the jacket fruit for Luffy in the A tier. Which devil fruit should Luffy eat next? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, why not watch this video next, where One Piece has a different main character. See you in the next one. Take care.